Okay, so weight on.
Channel mode.
What's the science behind popping when you set stop?
It's just the momentum of the parachute, and the parachute takes a lot of air with it, so you get a big momentum and it just yanks the balloon up. And I actually like to do that because it shakes some dirt out.
Sure.
One time, real quick. Everybody, cheese. Okay, well, y'all try.
Okay, so at this point, I like to ask for weight off, but hands on.
Okay,
because we should be
where we're at.
close to light, right? Lo and behold, we're real close. Okay, weight on. So that way
I was
you
holding
know
hard.
about 135.
Okay.
Which is ridiculously low, which is funny. But that's about going to be your lift-off weight. Actually, we're pretty light. So now is the time you're at equilibrium, but you've got weight on. So now you can go and undo your rope. And so I pull all the loops out. Yep. And then just hold that tail in your hand. And now we think he's out of our way.
Okay.
But we're going to advise our crew, when we leave, just keep your hands on and walk with us, just to make sure that we don't take that hard left turn into Terry, and then once we're past him, we'll be clear.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. You want to hold that until you feel the basket come off the ground.
Okay.
Weight off.
Weight off and hands on. Okay, now you can let that go. We're clear. Thanks, guys.
Bye, have a good flight. I love you.
That's it.
That's it. Temperature inversions, we need to worry about those when it's real cold?
There won't be much today because of that north wind. Okay. So we might have some false lift, so we always want to keep our eye out for, now's the time to kind of give it a little push. You can feel it just starting to level out a little bit. And remember, with these temperatures, man, we're going to be super efficient.
Shorter burns.
Yep. Okay, remember our rule of thumb. If we're left of that water tower, things are easy.
Right.
And we're left of it right now. We're going almost to the baseball field. You can't quite see Amazon, but as far as I'm concerned, we're going a great direction. Nice control. Now that you're up and kind of stable, now's the time to call the airport.
Okay, so Colorado Springs Towers, hot air balloon, November 74008, taking off west of you, heading south.
Perfect. And what I would do is I'd give it a little bit of a burn first, so
Okay.
that you don't have to worry about that while you're talking.
Okay, and it's on and everything?
Yep.
Colorado Springs Towers, hot air balloon, November 74008, taking off west of your location, heading south. So, I mean, is that, I didn't get a response. Does that not count as permission?
Yeah, in my opinion, you need to get a response. So we'll give it a minute and then we'll call him again.
Okay.
But the call was perfect. Okay, now remember how we plotted the line on the tracks?
Uh-huh.
There's the Amazon building.
Right.
And you see the big crane down there?
Yep.
That's just to the right of the lake. And so the lake is that sort of clear spot that you can see out there on the first horizon.
So we're in a good direction right now.
Yep, we got a great...
One of the cranes was a NOTAM this morning on the flight services.
Tall cranes down there, yep. I think it's 220 feet tall or something.
Okay.
And so you can see that'd be right on the approach path.
Right.
Shouldn't be an issue, but it just hopefully warns people not to have it too low of an approach. Okay, let's call the airport.
Colorado Springs Towers, hot air balloon, November 74008, taking off west of your location, heading south.
Hot air balloon 744. Where's the closest south?
So what he was saying is hot air balloon 74008 and some words around we see you southbound. So
that's our
that's plenty.
clear to be in here.
Yep.
So I need to be climbing or just level or?
Actually, what I'd like to do is I'd like to get over sort of this neighborhood and the baseball fields, and sometime when we get out into the open space, whether it's before Milton Proby or after, I'd actually like to do a landing.
Okay.
Yeah. My rule of thumb is anybody can fly a balloon. You ought to figure out how to land a balloon.
Right. Yeah. It is the scary part. That and terminal descents.
That's not as scary after you do a couple. It was funny, Amanda was flying with Clayton on Thursday. I think he's doing some commercial instruction. And they did a terminal descent. It was the first time she'd ever done it. And she's been flying for a couple of years.
Oh yeah, and that's the first time
Yeah, she said they got up to, I think, 1,100 feet a minute, maybe, something like that.
quick.
Yeah, it is. All right, there he's up. Brilliant. Gorgeous day. It's okay. We're going 147. Okay.
We were thinking 145 on our.
So, just take sort of a mental note. We're flying at 145 degrees, right? And oddly, 148 degrees Fahrenheit, but 145 degrees. And how do you feel about this trajectory?
Feel good. I
Me
think
too.
We got lots of landing and not a whole lot of obstacles in the way. And
whereas if you had even 10 degrees, it's not bad, but it gets a little bit more tricky. And so that's from that, I do look for that sort of 140 to 145 is an ideal path that creates a lot of comfort, you know? Okay, so I'm kind of scanning this area where Amazon, and I see a crane on the south side of the building. I also see another big crane
right there, yeah.
on the left side. And right now we're going left of that crane, but once we get closer over to the road here, we'll see what the ground wind is doing. It's very common in that field to get a little bit of a right turn.
Because of the terrain.
Yep.
Different terrain.
And so at this stage, let's stay this height and go, and planning to go to the lake. That's a great direction. We won't plan to land at the lake since it's a little less friendly. And technically, the way I understand it, they're okay with us landing in the lake.
They don't want us driving in there.
The driving is the big
I feel like I'm having a harder time maintaining level today.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. With the different temperature, it shouldn't be that big of a difference, huh?
That's quite a bit cooler than last time we flew.
The green is the maneuvering vent.
The black is the turning vent,
Okay.
and the green is the little parachute.
And all it is just another vent.
Mm-hmm. Yep, go ahead and give it a healthy burn and I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see it goes up and it just pulls that half of the parachute open. That's it. And it's a direct pull, there's no pulley. And so the nice thing about that is with one arm, you can actually get some vent. See how you burned, but then I vented and we're level.
Right.
And so that'll be something worth experimenting with. And you're strong enough where you can make good use of that.
Okay.
That was one of the things I used to really like about flying a Balloon Works, is it didn't have a pulley assist on the red line, so you could be burning and just do a kind of a heavy vent, and you'd get something there. Whereas with these pulleys, you got to pull so much rope.
A little trickier.
Stayed this direction, maybe had a little bit of a right turn, probably a little bit more speed. So down here, the obstacles we have are light poles and trees, and then of course the big crane, which is now blending into the dirt.
Yep.
And so what I'd like you to do is just gradually ease down as though we're doing a gentle approach to be somewhere in that open space.
Okay.
It's likely that the wind's going to pick up. We may not actually land, but I want to go through the approach process.
The tracking and everything. And just let it naturally cool down.
Yeah,
Just
we're not in any
slowly
hurry.
descend, like
A good rule of thumb for me is about 200 feet a minute is pretty easy to recover. It's nice, casual, easy descent. 300 is kind of marginal. Once you get to 400, you really need to be sort of aiming for precision. But it'll naturally cool a little bit, and then, you know, once you're about 200 feet a minute, you can just kind of puff it, and that'll just ease you down. And again, the only hazards we have out here are these light poles. There's nothing taller than the trees, other than the big crane.
Ready?
Yep, those are perfect burns. It's tempting to burn more,
I really, really want to.
but no, all you're doing is keeping it warm so that you don't accelerate too much. But no, this is a great experience. Something that catches my eye is this one pole out here. I don't see any. But it kind of like, oh, that's an odd spot. Is there a power line
The one
there?
right behind that tree.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a little much. So use your green vent and give it just a little bit of a pull. So you can feel how much tension is on there.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. And it doesn't vent very much, but it's just enough to kind of take the edge off.
1814, right, go 35 up. Alpha 1814, straight south, 5 left, clear for digger. Right, 35 west, clear for takeoff, Alpha 1814.
Interesting, they put a roundabout in here.
little puff now. Just
Yep. That. Okay, I still see the pole. It's just naked. No idea why it's there. Now I would anticipate as we descend, you're going to pick up speed, which will create a little bit of a false heavy. So you're going to burn them. Nice. Yep, doing great. Now let it cool. Now it's tempting to rotate the balloon, but we'd end up rotating it the wrong way, so we just hang in there for now. So that one extra burn is enough to get you into that transition layer without having it feel like it's sucking you down. So now we're just nice, gradual cool. You know, we're going 10 knots. And Murphy's Law is you're always staring into the sun.
right. Yeah, the landings I think is what I'm most nervous about.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's the only time you're going to hit anything.
Right.
You know, and that can make you nervous for sure. Okay, so there's nothing out in front of us here, so I'd like you to gradually work the approach all the way until you're down sort of what I would call 3-4 feet above the ground.
Okay, and I should not pay attention to the instruments. It's
No,
so hard. Huh?
you're low enough now that you should be able to watch the horizon,
Okay.
and especially because the instruments are behind you.
Okay.
You don't want to be looking backwards because you really want to be looking out. Because, you know, is there something on this road? Is there a fence? Are there tower? I don't know, but you got to stay peeled.
Where I want to burn, but I shouldn't.
Right. I just vented to get rid of that last burn.
Okay, that last one was too much.
Okay, now burn.
Buff.
Feel that wind in your face? Yeah. What does that tell you?
We're about to shift.
Yep, we're going to change direction, and it's right in our face, so we're probably going to slow down.
Yeah, a little something right there.
I see it.
Burn.
Sure. And again. And one more. That's it. Okay, now I've got my hand on the vent because I don't want us to overburn, but we don't want to get pulled down into the road.
So I got to watch out for that.
So we're doing just fine at this altitude.
Okay.
We've slowed down about 2 or 3 knots. We're going about 8 now. But nice, see how you came in here and we're perfectly level. Now we were going for a real landing and we cared. Landing right here between the road and that hill would be perfect because that hill would actually help stop us.
Okay. With the winds and everything?
Right. Landing downhill is tough. Landing uphill is easy.
Okay.
And you felt like you wanted to burn, but here we are just drifting perfectly level. That's fresh dirt. Okay, a little burn. Okay, again. Because if you look at the horizon way out, we're actually climbing just a little bit. Okay, now burn. Nice. Perfect amount.
Looks like we're going to clip that bank.
Uh-huh.
But we're a little above it, right?
We are.
It's just an illusion.
Okay, a little burn. So this is what a 10 knot approach feels like.
Feels quick.
It does feel quick. We're not going to land just because we're cruising, but go ahead and give it a little burn. If we were to land in this kind of speed, the idea is this approach, even from right here, we could just vent and dump the whole thing and it would not hurt. Okay.
telephone pole in front of us.
Yep, that's a cell tower. There's no power lines on it.
And a tree.
Yep. Look at all this dirt work. Man, they're going to build something massive, aren't they? Turn your body around, yep. And that way you're still facing, but now you're not twisted quite so much, right? Now what I anticipate typically is once we cross the road and we go sort of into this wash, we'll pick up speed a little bit. Okay. And when you get that wind behind you or in front of you as you're descending, it creates a false header. Okay. The same way the false lift works, the wind goes underneath the balloon and actually pulls you down. Okay. That's okay. And it just, in this condition, it would just take a little puff to counteract it. Okay. Because we're already moving at 8. Okay. And so, sure. You know, we want to look down the road. There's not some 50-foot crane coming our way.
Right. About that.
The other thing from people's judgment is you always want to make sure you're going level over the road.
More so than descending.
Right. So that you don't make people miss. Right. Unless you really are, no kidding, looking for a landing. Right.
A little puff for once. Yep. Yeah, we dropped pretty quick.
So as we cruise through here, I want you to be as low as you're comfortable. Okay. Ideally without hitting the ground. Okay.
And I can just naturally let it cool down to get to there. I don't need any vent to get to there.
That's right. Okay. In this kind of a scenario, when you're ground tracking, I would use the vent to counteract an overburn. Okay. You know, to think about, oh, you know, I burn, oh, that's too much. And you vent, and the quicker you realize it and the quicker you vent, then the overburn just kind of doesn't matter. It goes away. But yeah, in this condition, you just let it cool, let it be relaxed. We're not doing anything super precise.
I got a little nervous on that
Thought
last
you needed one more,
Yeah,
didn't you?
I did.
Yep. But no, you rounded out, and now we're approaching the top of that hill. Just a little, in my opinion, just a little tiny bit of an overburn, but not much.
Climbing now.
Yep.
But the instruments say 0, so they're not that accurate, huh? There's a little bit of a delay, or
There is a delay, and at these low altitudes, your senses are going to be way more precise than the instruments. Wait for the swing. Okay, now balloon. Anytime you sort of touch the ground like that, you always want to be looking up to make sure that your throat's still open and all that.
I got you. I didn't look up that time.
notice how it's slowed way down.
Yeah, it's because we're down in this little...
Yeah, we got all that speed coming over the ridge. Now, if you were probably 30 feet higher, you would not have slowed down.
Okay.
Swing and then burn. Yep. You see how that the swing automatically lifts you up,
Right.
as opposed to if you burn on this on the back
You'll
swing.
get a little forward motion.
Exactly, and you just get a lot more of that.
So I overburned pretty good on that one, huh?
A little bit. And this road coming through here, there is a fence right in there. You see how it kind of comes from the south to the north and then turns.
Oh yeah, I see.
And then there's this little shack
Yeah,
thing.
a couple of windmills.
Yep. Okay, little burn there. Just as we started.
I
Yep.
did, I felt it.
Okay, what would you think about shooting for a landing on this road that's coming up?
Okay, I'm good with that. So let it naturally cool.
Yep. You got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. Just get it lower and track. I did overburn a little bit. Well, I guess it's
So in that case, the amount that you burned was right on. You just burned a little bit too late.
too late.
Yep. Because then what happens is as soon as you take the weight of the basket off the envelope when you touch the ground, then you naturally get that rebound, even though we're still just at equilibrium.
Right.
Okay, little burn there. One more.
Huh?
Yep. You're not hanging on, are you?
Wasn't. To the burner, which is probably a bad thing to hang on to.
Because then you jerk it forward, and yeah, I've seen people do lots of damage doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they burn out 6 or 8 panels right there, you know.
So now we got this tree and stuff in our path.
Okay.
But I think we'll be on the ground before then. Bent to stay on the ground?
So in this case, yes, what you
Wait till we get on the ground.
we're letting it cool, and if you vent right now, then, and of course this vent, as we talked about, takes a lot of rope, and that's cooling it. But notice we're still not on the ground, right? Because as soon as you take that weight off, you have the rebound. So you got to get the balloon cooler than it seems, and then you want to let that vent go slowly so that you don't get that shock.
Uplift. Okay.
Nice. That's all right, huh? And then just watch how your red line potentially comes in front of the burner path.
Right now.
So it's just something you got to be careful of when you have tension on it is all.
Nice.
Breathing? Yeah.
I'm less nervous today.
Good. Yeah, you'll just gradually get less nervous over time.
I do need to work on the other side of the flying, the checking the weather, the knowing the thing.
Right.
I need to work on that more.
Yeah, the nice thing is that's easy and doesn't require you to do that sort of in the heat of the moment.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Do they know where we're at?
Yeah, they were just sitting right up here on the road, so they know where we're at. So what I'd like to do is actually to take off again and see if we can get over towards the lake.
Okay.
And I'd like to take over for just a minute. I'd like to show you a maneuver.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out of here really hot. as though there were an obstacle in front of us. I mean, obviously we got a lot of distance.
Right.
But I wanted to explain a little bit of the timing, and then we're going to come back down fairly quickly, and then I'm going to flare it out.
Okay.
So again, let's imagine we're trading out passengers, or the crew calls us and says, hey, we can't get access into there, those sorts of things, scenarios of, okay, I've landed, but now I got to go. Now, it's tempting to just sort of, you know, puff your way to a launch. But the problem is then as the balloon gets warm, it'll just start dragging along the ground, and that's...
We want to go up.
Right. And so what I'm going to do is actually just pour the coals to it, and then it'll, because the wind is fairly calm here, we're going to, it feels like it just shoots up. And then we're going to go up, we're going to get a little bit of a turn, and then I'm going to come right back down. And I'm going to show you a little bit of the timing on how to judge that descent.
Okay.
Okay?
And then we'll flare out.
Yep. Notice the balloon just stood up straight. We're almost off the ground. Shoot up. So we're currently, that's only 300 feet a minute, but we're accelerating.
Right.
And I mean, we're still at 170 degrees. We're not pushing the balloon at all.
That's awesome.
And now imagine if there was that obstacle in front of us, it would be well clear. Okay. This is beeping at us because we've exceeded 600 feet a minute. We're also going to get a significant left turn.
Okay.
Because I saw Terry in this direction. Okay. So now our speed should be slowing down. We're still going up 400 feet a minute, but we're sort of tapering off on that curve, right? Okay. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to let it cool, and then I'm going to flare it out. Now my intention is during the flare I'm going to do a little bit of an overburn, because you burn more if you want to catch it more quickly, but you end up having to burn more than your equilibrium if you're sort of short on space.
Okay.
So go ahead and be ready with the green vent just to have a little bit of a maneuver if we need to.
Okay.
Okay. So we just got, we're almost level now.
Okay.
50 feet a minute. And see how much left turn we got? I've been watching Terry and I thought, oh, well, we can get out of the lake area and get down into those neighborhoods. This will be perfect. But since we're out here in the open, I'm going to go ahead and do this sort of steep descent. Because, for example, well, there's a road, we could land there. We knew that this is safe landing if we feel like, you know,
We had to.
we know accessibility is not great, but it's okay. Okay, so we've just leveled out. We're just starting to drop. If we wanted to continue flying, now would be the time to burn.
Right.
So that we don't let the balloon get ahead of us. But we know our intention is to come right back in.
So we're falling about what, 80?
Right now, this is 250 feet a minute.
Wow.
And that's about 300 feet a minute. That's 400 feet a minute.
You're not even keeping the balloon warm right now, huh?
Okay, so now I'm starting to think, ooh, the ground's coming up fast. I'm going to burn.
Even if we were to hit it that 400, it wouldn't be...
Okay, go ahead and give it a little vent there. So even that was an overburn.
Pretty good.
Yeah, keep it open. Okay, we'll let that go. So notice how we vented sort of quickly so that the overburn didn't take us back up.
Right.
So now we should start to descend a little bit again.
You got that right there.
Yep, Eagle's Nest there. So now we're low enough I can just puff us all the way down. vents here. Tempting to burn. In general, I find the balloon work will outperform your expectations.
Okay.
Okay, be ready on the green vent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to deliberately overburn it. Vent, and hold it open. There you go. You feel it vibrating? Yep. And just hold it open,
With air going out.
Now, you see how that overburn leveled us out, and then your vent lets that heat out?
Yeah.
Keep it open, keep it open. Okay, now you let it ease up. You feel that how the balloon settled in a little bit?
Yeah.
Yep. So, overburning is not that big a deal as long as you're ready on the vent.
Okay.
And now you saw with this green vent, it doesn't vent a lot.
Right.
It's great for just that last little tweak like that, slow landing. But if you need an aggressive vent, the red line is your way to go. Because of course, if it was windy, we would have been bouncing along the ground, right? All right. So, okay. So let's think about where we want to end up. Okay. We know that we don't really want to end up in here. So I think that we should plan to hop up and go across powers, and depending on the speed, we could go to, what time is it? You know? We lit the burners right about 8 o'clock. It's 8:40. We're still on our original 2 tanks, right?
Yep.
Actually, I think we're on our original 1 tank. So we got a lot of fuel left. It's staying nice and calm. So my suggestion is that we pop up and we go over the road, and then we sort of think in terms of the open space,
Yeah.
but probably north of Fontaine.
Okay.
And so now is a great time to tell the crew, here's kind of what I'm thinking. So that way they're oriented correctly.
So tell them east of Powers and north of Fontaine.
Yeah, that's our goal.
Tequila Sunrise, Tequila Chaser. Tequila Sunrise, Tequila Chaser.
Yeah, that's right. He knows where we are.
All right.
Okay.
And so just gradually, or
Yeah, let's actually just lift off. This eagle's nest here is the tallest thing, so let's just lift off kind of casually and see, do we get a track towards the lake? I actually think it's almost perfectly calm here.
yeah, I'm not seeing much movement in the weeds.
I actually feel like we might end up going that way.
I noticed it because that last time I stepped on it a couple times.
Yeah. There's still that concern if you're venting, because it doesn't take much to get it to the
Right.
floor. But at least now it's not hanging on the floor. This fence goes here, and this comes up here. But I think this fence, I think it actually goes and stops. I think that fence just keeps going around. I'm not sure. Can't quite see as I'm looking into the sun because they sort of come together and then apart, but you can see them both out there. I like this altitude. No higher than this. Because what I'd like to do is when we cross either one or two fences, up to you, I'd like to do another one.
Okay.
And you call it, you tell me what your plan is.
Slow. Much on that last one.
The fence is intimidating, though, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yep.
Not as much as power lines.
That's probably good.
I was trying to get on the other side of the fence.
Okay.
Probably a little much.
I can't believe we're flying at 138 degrees.
Right.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And still on the first tank.
I know.
It'll make refueling nice. Yeah, that was way too much.
But not really. I mean, yeah, you're not level.
It'll get us over that other one maybe.
But you think about it, it's going to cool. You're going to have to burn again before this
Yeah.
fence.
Like probably now-ish.
I would.
One more. One it out. Little burn.
Yeah. Okay. Now. So now we're higher than we need to be, but it's nice that you don't have to judge precisely how
Right.
tall the basket is, right?
And that should cool enough to touch down before that next fence, right?
If you wanted to, yeah. If we knew that this was accessible and that wasn't,
Right.
then I'd probably be on the vent to be in here without messing with that, you know. Notice you're in landing mode, but you're not prepared. You're not hanging on, you don't have a vent line in your hand, you got nothing. And now you're being jostled around.
Right.
You gonna land or what?
See See, I'm still venting. But I didn't pull it enough.
Now you can see the sunlight.
Yeah.
Now it's open.
Okay. And I was kind of in a different position too, which is weird.
Right. Yeah, so now the red line's behind you, the scoop's behind
Right.
you. Yeah, it's open.
And then try that again. So when I'm over here, I just reposition to where I can just get everything I need to. Don't be hung up on the one corner, right?
Now, and yeah, if you had two turning vents or you had a divided basket, you find your one happy spot. But in the case that you're spinning, facing the direction you're going is more important than anything else.
Right.
So being here in your corner, flying backwards would not be safe.
Right.
And so, for example, in this case scenario, what I would do is I would be here with my arm around the upright and venting in front of me.
Okay.
Which you don't have as much strength doing this, but you're plenty strong. You don't have to worry about that. And so then, again, I'm anchored in, and I've got my hip in the tank, and you just can't move me out of this corner. When you're standing here and burning, then there's this,
Right.
you know, and then once you're discombobulated, then you're stepping on toes and that kind of a thing. And even if you're hanging up here, you still got a lot of swing. And so that's really why I like to anchor the hip against the shoulder in my armpit, or the post in my armpit. And then if I'm pulling in front of me, that's easier. If I'm pulling behind me, it's not the end of the world, but I'm still not going anywhere.
Or you just be hanging on.
Yep.
On landing. Like I don't need to be holding on any other time.
No.
And then it probably doesn't hurt to use this other burner every once in a while too, right?
Yeah, just make sure that it's still got fuel. This one, I think this one's about it.
Sounds a little different.
It does, yep.
So I'm probably good to go ahead and switch to this other tank.
Okay.
So I don't have to worry about that. And then I'm going to switch to this side.
Okay, so here's the challenge. In this situation, you think you've done a spectacular job picking out a landing spot, and the crew comes and they're on the other side of the fence and they say, hey man, I can't get to your side. So what I'd like you to do is plan to get high enough to get over the fence and land in that field.
Okay.
Just sort of whenever you're on the opposite side of the fence.
Okay. It burned the last one, huh?
I think it's okay. We're still only, what, 10 feet above the ground. One more. One more. You don't want to be descending into that. Okay, now be bending. As soon as we're cleared, yep. And more. There you go. Now you got to bend. Feel it. Yep. You just hold it open, hold it open, hold it open, hold it open.
Stabilizes.
Okay, now let it ease up. Nice. So, now you got yourself to the right side of the fence, right?
Right.
Okay, now always be looking up, say, okay, how's my balloon doing? Do I need to puff it? Is it sitting?
Puff it.
What do you think? It's getting easy, right?
It is. It's really easy when you're here with me.
Okay, so let's go again. Let's go ahead and stay relatively low.
Okay.
In an ideal world, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do that same approach, but on the road on the other side of the fence.
Okay, so cross the road and then land right on the other side of the fence.
Well, because I think the fence is on this side of the road, because as it circles around the lake. So we'll cross the fence and land on the road.
Okay.
In the ideal world.
Oh, on the dirt road.
Yeah, inside here.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that where he's at? Is he on the inside?
No, he's still out on the outside.
Okay.
He's out on powers, but I just want to do one more landing because
Okay.
we think we have enough fuel.
Right. We have plenty of fuel. Try to turn it?
Sure. This is the right time to be doing it.
Right. Ground comes up close, it makes you want to burn.
It does. That's okay, as long as you vent that overburn, that's fine. It's not very fuel efficient, but
Right. Just keep letting it cool or a puff.
I'd puff it. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot like driving a car. You can over accelerate, but you got brakes.
Little puff.
I don't know, what do you think?
So now, like when I've got this behind me, stand like this.
I would stand over here.
Okay. There you go.
See the road on the other side of the fence?
Right here.
Yep.
Laying down the road.
Yep. So you're locked in, you got your hand on the red line, hand on the burner, you're clearing the fence, everything looks great so far. Little burn. One more. That'll get you clear of the fence.
If I clear, I'm gonna vent.
Yep. Okay, go ahead. Yep, and you're gonna hold that vent open because we're gonna bounce just a little bit. And now ease it out. Right in the middle of the road. Right in the middle of the road. Nice. All right, so I suggest that we've done 4 landings.
Right.
Let's jump up out of here a couple hundred feet and we'll get out of the open space so Scott doesn't have to wander.
Okay.
It's pretty hard to predict what direction we're gonna go. I mean, I think we'll go east, but I can't tell if we're gonna go north or south, frankly. If we go straight across, we're just at the very southern tip of that school, so I think we'd be okay. If we go left, it's easy in the school. If we go right, there's other access out there.
Kind of drifting back a little bit. We have to watch out for the fence.
Yep, we do. So that is a small example of landing over an obstacle.
Okay.
Now, obviously, I say small because the fence is only 3 feet tall.
Right. It's not like it's a.
Could be a building, could be a tree, could be power lines, but the same approach is. What you did, it was a nice level approach and then down. And that's exactly what you want to do, regardless of the size of obstacle. What you don't want to do, if you can avoid it, is down sloping towards the obstacle and hope you timed it right.
Right.
That's much more difficult.
Gotcha. And how important is it that I have my scoop in the right direction when I'm landing?
It's convenience, but it doesn't really matter. Because it doesn't affect your landing at all. What it affects is your ability to keep the balloon standing still after you land.
Okay.
And so, if this were sort of a high-stakes situation and you didn't have time to do that, no big deal, because then you could always just deflate.
Right.
Or maybe your crew comes, they can help you spin, maybe even a passenger, whatever, but it's not important. The biggest concern if your scoop's behind you is your scoop and red line can come forward into the boat.
Okay.
So I think if this is our track, my suggestion is we actually go out over the power lines and out into the open space between the trade zone and the farmer.
Okay, so clear those big power lines.
Technically, they actually end right there, and then there's just a little set under the ridge here. But this is a nice track. We'll cruise right over the truck. And again, you're plenty high above the road. Think about highway standards say that everything's got to be shorter than 12.6, just rigs and all that,
right.
and you're higher than that. And the key is you just don't want to make people nervous by descending over the road.
Right. It's good to stay level even with this slight descent.
Yeah, this is perfect right where you are. Oh, you see Terry way down there? That's neat. So as we scan the horizon for obstacles, we see this tree, a couple of fences in and around the road, power lines that look like they end, and then pretty soon we're going to just start to see the small set of power lines out there, but it's going to be tough to see them.
And that's the ones I'm crossing?
We're not going to do it just now, but if your pilot light went out right now, what would you do?
With my pilot, I would try to, if the pilot light went out, use my striker to...
Okay. I'd probably push the button first.
Oh yeah, push the button first.
I mean, take the easy route, it might work, right?
Yeah.
But have that striker ready, because you never know. Okay, we're clear of the road. How fast are we going? 4. Nice. At your current track, you are headed perfectly towards a gate in that field. You see the little power lines now? Even though the big ones end there, you get the little ones that go all the way down.
And then so when I'm this direction, still like this, just hug here and then...
That's what I do. Yeah, if you were landing in this position, yep. Now, as we crest this hill, I would anticipate a little bit of an acceleration.
Okay.
Not a lot, but some.
Terry looks like he's sitting pretty still for still standing.
Yep. And he's got the parachute open. You can see the sun coming through into the red.
Yeah, I feel like well, I guess we're going 4, but it feels like we're going faster.
It feels like that partially because this hill's coming up towards you and we're accelerating. So 4 isn't a big deal, but is it, you know, but anytime you're accelerating, it just feels a little bit more anxious. And again, with the power lines, we don't have a lot of steerage to worry about. Like, we're not really trying to hug the ground for any major reason.
We just want to get over the power lines.
And so, yeah, again, you want to be level or ascending over the... And that way, you're not trying to calculate some glide ratio that's very difficult to do. You know, if you're in a really big pinch, is it okay? I don't know, maybe. It's generally a bad idea, but... The rule of thumb is, like, in this kind of, even if there was a road right there and we wanted to be down sort of quickly after the power lines, I'd still approach it right at eye level. And so just to know that, hey, straight and level, because then I can see the horizon, I can see it. And then I'm not, oh, wait, I can't see them. They blended in. And then you're, and then of course, the more you're looking down, the more you're not looking up. So this is Fontaine,
Okay.
and there is a gate into that field.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know that gate.
Yeah.
And so, and the road coming up, I think that should be your target.
Okay. The road coming up from the gate.
Yep.
Be able to see it. Huh?
So the north-south road, the road that goes north through the gate, up a Fontaine towards the trade zone, that's your target.
Okay.
And that road is difficult to see because it's small, but also I think it's actually on the back side of that ridge.
Okay.
And this road here that's on the power lines, I think Scott's going to go out that direction, and I think he can get out that way.
Okay.
And so he can just go out and around, it's fine. Had our radios worked, when we crossed powers would have been the time to tell him, you know, but that's okay.
And this is a good height for going across
Yep.
these power lines?
This is an excellent height. And so notice that we have this short ridge and then the longer horizon.
Yeah.
Watching those converge or expand tells you whether you're going. So like right now we're going down just a bit and you can see the two horizon lines coming together.
Yeah.
And now you've leveled out. You see how I'm judging those two things? Aaron and I landed right in that little section of trees right there. We were doing this flight, and then as soon as we crossed the power lines, we got a right turn and we landed there because there is a PZ. So that said, when we cross the power lines, we don't want to descend.
Okay.
It would, from a safety perspective, it's fine. But I anticipate when we descend, we'd be in that arroyo and we'd get a right turn. So we actually want to stay up.
Stay above that.
Yeah.
Why does it keep doing that? That burn? You hear that? All right.
Yeah, I think it's just pressure that sits in the back of the valve.
Okay. Some trees anyway.
Yeah. It's okay. On the other side of Fontaine, there's power lines on Fontaine, and then the trees in the house, that's the red area that we want to avoid. But really, once we've crossed these power lines, really anywhere out here is fine. And
we just want to get closer to that road.
Right, any more left gets us closer to that north-south road, and yeah, that's better. Yeah, I feel like we're just kind of wiggling a little bit here. Yeah, this is a perfect height.
You know we're going to clear the power lines.
Right.
And we're slowing down a little bit too.
It's okay, yep. Because the last thing you want to do is start a descent.
Descending right there, yeah. We are descending.
A little bit, yep.
I don't want to overburn.
I mean, it's okay if we go a little higher. Right?
Yeah, better to be higher.
Yep. Especially because we're not trying to do some super precise maneuver here. You know, there have been times in my flying career where I've got this situation where a power line and then a field and then a line of trees or something, and you know, in that sense you don't want to get too high because it makes the landing hard, but no, it's fine. In fact, let's bump up 50 feet and see if we get a little bit more breeze to our left. I just feel it's time to turn down that valley already. So I'm looking, and this appears to be an open gate with no fence whatsoever.
Okay.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So like Scott could have come just right down and through. I mean, not to say that he went back north and went out to the road, but not to say that was a bad call. But I didn't realize that went through. Let's go just a little higher.
More burn.
No, that was perfect. See the hawk down there?
Oh yeah. Red tail.
So now is the time where you can scan and look for that road. See, it ends there, it goes. So I was wrong, it's on this side of the ridge, and you can see the gate. And so now we've got a pretty good track right to it.
Right. Try to hit the road.
Yep. And so I think we stay up here for a little bit so that we don't get pulled into. I don't think we. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll get pulled into this arroyo since it's so calm. It's not the end of the world. I mean, obviously we could just walk it over, but might as well do our best, right?
Right.
You know, with it 16 degrees this morning, I did not think sunscreen was going to be my biggest problem.
Right.
I should have put some on. And there's Scott coming down the road. Huge herd of antelope.
Too low to be caught in that.
On the ground, it is a little bit of a right turn, but not much. So, with this potentially the arroyo pulling the wind down towards the trees, what I'd recommend is we're heading right over this big curve here. When we get over that curve, then we start a descent.
Okay.
And if we get to the road, that'd be great. If we get a turn, then we'll land more aggressively to be on this side of the left side of the ditch.
Right. So, and I don't need to really vent. I can just let it all naturally.
Yeah, I think a casual descent will get us, you know, a nice slight glide ratio. I'm just a little worried about that right turn is all. And I don't see any fences other than, I mean, the last fence is way back there, and then up there on this straight line over the ridge, that's a fence also. But I think it comes down and goes north. I don't think there's a fence that comes south. And I'm pretty sure that is the gate right there, right?
I think so. I know it's in there by them trees somewhere.
Yep, I think that's right.
Where'd Scott go?
He's right over there. Because that road coming in from the north, remember, it splits. So So I'd like you to treat me as a passenger and just, I'm not going to give you any instruction. You tell me what you're going to do.
Okay, and then we're about to land and hold on and... This is nice and slow.
It is, yeah.
Swing tower, advising circle land, 3-1. Clear to land, 3-1, advising.
I've landed in this little flat area here.
Landed in the flat area?
22 miles an hour.
Wow. 21 was how fast me and Corey were going when we landed on this second flight. Where you can fly with the passenger.
I was flying here, and then Scott, and then Troy. We all three did rip.
And then, so now I can come like to here, huh?
Uh-huh. Yep, so now you're in landing mode.
Right.
And you've got all of your body positions right, and you're kind of hanging on, so you're not going to be jostled.
Still trying to get closer to the road though, huh?
Okay.
It's right up here on this, is that where the road's at?
Isn't it amazing how it disappeared?
It did disappear.
Because we can't see it anymore. Yeah, so you can see a little bit of the snow trace coming in. And so, yeah, it is right up here. It's pretty easy. You can see a little cut of it right there as it kind of goes south up the hill there.
Is this the road right here? Oh no, it's a
Right
little
up
further.
See the yellow posts? Okay, I'm holding on. Brilliant. Yeah. Right on the road.
Good.
So the easiest way to spin it is to, if you'll come over to my side, okay, and that makes one side of the basket light, and then you just gradually spin it around. Give it a little burn. I wouldn't, just because it's already, we're already kind of close. See how we're sliding a little bit already? Now we can open the lower end into the second.
How many times did you land?
100? That was 6. Okay, so now in this procedure, remember we want to turn our pilot lights off,
Right.
and our fuel off,
Right.
and you can debate whether you want to burn the fuel or whether you want to cool the burners. In this kind of environment, we don't have a lot of weeds to worry about.
That's fine.
In general, either way works. In an event, you want to burn. In dry weed, you want to cool the burners first. Either way,
Right.
but pilots burn and tanks and burn the fuel out, and then that way you know you're completely in. Nice.
Okay. Now mine.
Okay, I'll hop out and grab that real quick. It's gonna be heavy, so we should be fine. Yeah, in this case where we're laying down on snow, you want to let the balloon get as cold as you can
Okay, so it's not sticking.
so that it doesn't melt the snow when we land.
Okay, so we're in no hurry to let it lay down.
And it's so cold.
Right.
She said she got stuck in a Suburban, so she couldn't see you take off.
Okay. Had a bunch of takeoffs in there. Yeah. Standing a bunch of times.
You almost set over the radio. What are you doing? So we can dig.
Okay, Travis,
Okay.
I'd like you to have Amanda do that. She can stand outside the basket. You can go ahead and pull the red light.
Yeah, I want you to like put that down, and then you're gonna pull the top. And I want you to feel how. And you're just gonna keep pulling. Okay. Go, keep going. 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 Tough, huh? And then just hold it. Keep going. Keep going. There you go. Keep holding it. Okay, you can let off of it.
Let go of it?
Yeah.
Is that the rope that opens the net?
Uh huh. Did you feel that?
Yeah, it's hard.